Hello and welcome to the Papyrus Global Africa News Update. I am Christiana Babayo and here are today's top headlines. DR Congo receives experimental Ebola drug as outbreak intensifies. Kenya halts construction of US-backed Ebola facility amid controversy. South African police probe killing of Malawian migrant amid rising xenophobic attacks. And now the news in details. Health authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo have stepped up efforts to contain the rapidly spreading Ebola outbreak by introducing experimental treatments and expanding emergency response measures. More than 1,000 infections have been recorded, while health workers face shortages of isolation facilities and protective equipment. The outbreak has spread across several provinces, raising fears of wider regional transmission. International agencies and African health institutions are calling for increased funding and stronger cooperation to prevent the epidemic and from escalating further. Kenya's government has suspended work on a US-funded Ebola quarantine center following a court ruling on growing public opposition. The facility near Nairobi was intended to accommodate Americans exposed to Ebola in neighboring DR Congo. Critics argue that the project was poorly explained and raised concerns about national interest and health security. Violent protests accompanied the controversy, resulting in fatalities. Authorities have pledged to respect the court order while discussions continue over the future of the project. South African authorities have launched investigations into the killing of a Malawian migrant as concerns mount over renewed xenophobic violence. Right groups and community leaders are urging stronger protection for foreign nationals living in the country. The incident has sparked outrage in Malawi and among African civil society organizations, which warn that hate crimes could undermine regional unity. Police say suspects are being sought while government officials appeal for calm and condemn attacks targeting migrants and vulnerable communities. Niger's military-led government has officially initiated procedures to leave the International Criminal Court. Authorities argue that the court unfairly targets African countries and fails to deliver impartial justice. The move follows similar criticism voiced by several governments across the continent in recent years. Analysts say the withdrawal could affect international relations and accountability efforts concerning conflict-related crimes. Human rights organizations have expressed concern, warning that leaving the ICC may weaken mechanisms designed to protect civilians and ensure justice. Kenya has entered into a major agreement with a Chinese construction company to modernize and expand Nairobi's International Airport. The project aims to increase passenger capacity, improve cargo handling, and strengthen Kenya's position as East Africa's leading aviation hub. Government officials say the investment will create jobs and boost trade and tourism. Critics, however, are concerned about raising debt obligations and transparency issues. Construction is expected to begin later this year after regulatory approvals are completed.
We will now go on a short break, and when we come back, the news will continue. Stay tuned.
The Papyrus Global, we don't just cover events, we create cinematic experiences. From red carpets to birthdays, gala dinners, and your fairy tale weddings, we bring your moments to life with high-tech precision. Our gadgets are smarter, our lenses sharper, and our team simply world-class. Trust the Papyrus Global to tell your story in the boldest, brightest way possible.
Welcome back, and now the news will continue.
Heavy rainfall and severe flooding have displaced more than 1,700 residents across parts of Ghana, damaging homes, roads, and farmlands. Emergency teams have been deployed to affected communities, while authorities provide temporary shelters and relief supplies. Meteorological officials warn that additional rainfall could worsen the situation. Residents have appealed for more government support as schools and businesses remain disrupted. Environmental experts are calling for improved drainage systems and urban planning measures to reduce the impact of recurring floods. UNAIDS has expressed concern that reductions in US health funding could jeopardize HIV/AIDS programs across South Africa. The country hosts one of the world's largest HIV treatment populations, and aid agencies fear that reduced resources could interrupt medication supply and prevention campaigns. Health experts say vulnerable communities would be most affected if funding gaps persist. South African authorities are exploring alternative financing options to sustain healthcare services, while international organizations advocate for renewed support and long-term commitments. A new report on Sudan's ongoing conflict has revealed widespread incidents of sexual violence against women and children. Humanitarian organizations say the abuses are recurring amid continued fighting and deteriorating living conditions. Survivors face limited access to healthcare, legal support, and protection services. International agencies have called for accountability and urgent intervention to protect civilians. The conflict has displaced millions and deepened one of Africa's most severe humanitarian crises, with aid workers warning that conditions continue to worsen. The International Monetary Fund has reaffirmed support for African economies affected by instability in the Middle East and global market uncertainties. Rising energy prices, inflation, and disruptions to trade routes have placed additional pressure on several countries. IMF officials say financial assistance and policy reforms will help governments manage economic shocks and maintain growth. Economists caution that debt burdens and currency volatility remain significant challenges. Many African nations are seeking investments and international cooperation to strengthen economic resilience. African representatives at the FIFA World Cup have experienced varied fortunes, with DR Congo suffering defeat against Colombia in a closely contested match. While some African teams have advanced impressively, others have struggled against strong opposition. Football analysts note that the continent's performance reflects growing competitiveness on the global stage. Fans across Africa continue to rally behind their teams, hoping for deeper progress in the tournament. Coaches remain optimistic that African nations can achieve historic success before the competition concludes. And that brings us to the end of today's African News Update. Before we go, here is a recap of our main headlines. DR Congo receives experimental Ebola drug as outbreak intensifies. Kenya halts construction of US-backed Ebola facility amid controversy. South African police probe killing of Malawian migrant amid rising xenophobic attacks. For continuous coverage and breaking developments, stay connected with the Papyrus Global Television at papyrusdaily.com. I am your host, Christiana Babayo. Thank you for watching.